Director at the Open Courseware Consortium. And it's my pleasure today to have three wonderful co-presenters with me who are members of my consortium, and they are going to talk about saving students billions and expanding access. So, sorry about this graphic, I'm not a graphic artist, but we're going to show you kind of the trajectory up to $1 million. But whenever we talk about savings costs to students, that's not the whole story. Obviously, that many of us come to OER starting out with that cost savings. There's a lot more involved. Faculty innovation, support for a lot of diverse materials, and I'm going to let my speakers talk about that, because they'll do that best. So how many of you are from community colleges who are here? Okay. All right. Well, I sometimes talk at conferences where the majority are not. So you know this. Community colleges have a pretty complex set of student populations that they address. Not only the transfer students who are coming through and going to go on to a four-year college or university, but of course we have folks who come in for workforce certificates, or even people with professional degrees who are just coming back to update. And then of course we also work with students who are not quite ready for college yet, and we're prepping them for that. So important to know that when we're talking about OER, we have to look at that whole picture. So the Open Courseware, which is our parent organization, is the leading and largest global organization promoting open ed. And they started this off about a decade ago, this whole open movement in education, or what we call the modern open movement, which is the free dissemination of learning to advance, to advance learning. I'll get that one yet. So to let you know a little bit about the Community College Consortium, we're not quite that old. We started about 6 years ago. We were founded by Dr. Martha Cantor, who was the U.S. Undersecretary of Education until about a month ago, actually. But back when she founded the organization, she was the chancellor of the Foothill De Anza College District, and she had a vision around community colleges getting involved in open ed. Up till that point, it had been the four-year colleges and even K through 12. The community colleges hadn't really embraced that. And she felt that not only did our students need that benefit, but our faculty did as well, from an innovation and a cost perspective. And we joined the we joined the Open Courseware Consortium in 2011, and now we have over 200 colleges in 15 states and provinces. And if you're not a member or you'd like to participate, we'd love to have you. And I made some handouts, so you should, there's ways to contact us. And Barbara's got them in the back. So what's our mission? Well, it's promoting the adoption of OER to enhance teaching and learning. And it's always about that, the enhancement of the teaching and learning. And so we're expanding access to education is obviously a really big piece of that, supporting faculty innovation, and always looking at how this works for community colleges. Although we have four-year colleges and universities that participate with us, our vision really remains within the community colleges. And these are our priorities. We do a lot of outreach. We come to conferences, we do a lot of online webinars, online community events to support faculty and deans and directors who are working with OER. We also work on research around this area, because we know how important that is for you as faculty to know that the practices you're bringing into your classroom are working. And also for going out and trying to find collaborations, it's very helpful to have that research on how OER is working. And finally, we want to promote the integration of OER into the community college curricula and make it mainstream and part of the articulation process. And we have a couple of fall webinars. These are always free. We already had two, but we still have two more coming up. One in November with a couple of one of our panelists here will be presenting next week with us, and we have someone from Creative Commons. And this is on fostering open policies on your campus. And in December, we're going to have one that's kind of featuring some of the cool stuff that they've been doing in the California community colleges. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Quill. Hi.
So I'm Quill West. I am the OER project director at Tacoma Community College, and I'm here to talk about a project that we did. It's called Liberate 250K. And really what happened is at TCC, we had this OER project, and it was really hard to sell to the students funded it, but it was hard to explain to them what we were doing because they don't necessarily tie faculty development to their experiences in the classroom. So we had to find something to tell them we're doing something responsible with your money. So, my advisory committee and I got together after Open Ed last year, and I said, we've got to do something tangible that the students will understand. What do you think? And they said, and the students are on that committee, and they said, well, how much money have we saved with this project? And I had that information, so I gave it to them, and they said, well, why don't you tell us that that's what you're doing? And then they said, tell us you're going to save us more. Okay. And so my advisory committee and I sat around and we tried to decide what was a reasonable number for us to save money in 2 years, because that's how long we were funded for the initial part of the project. And we said conservatively we said in our wildest dreams $250,000 total savings. We will do that in 2 years. That was like me going, are you sure? Okay, we'll see what happens. And we did that in 9 months. We saved our students $250,000, actually $271,000 in 9 months. That's 3 academic quarters for us. We're in an academic quarter system. Starting this fall quarter, we're up to $360,000. And we do that in many different ways. I think the important thing to note here is, while liberated $250K or $360K is a big deal, it's more about what our project is trying to do, because it's about the learning that happens in the classroom, less than, the dollar savings are cool, and that's how we started, because the students were like, save us money, please. But the second part of that really is how it integrates with the rest of the institution, and that's important. These are the 4 goals that were set up in the initial request for funds. So these are the 4 things that I'm responsible for meeting with my project. And the first thing is engage community. Communities of practice are what we use, or the language we use to talk about, but the idea was to connect students, faculty, and staff so that we have an approach that everybody in the institution is understanding, so that nobody gets lost in the conversation, which can be sometimes rather difficult. Ongoing assessment of the project, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. Integration and sustainability, it has to be a part of the institution, it has to become a part of our language. Because if it doesn't, I don't know that OER continues to exist. So if we can't tie OER to what our institution is about, it doesn't necessarily keep feeding us forward. So if it's just about saving money, I hate to say it, but cutting staff saves money. That's not the whole picture, that's not the whole story. The whole story is learning gets better. That's the story we talked about our students with. And then we were going to pilot courses. I was supposed to pilot 10 courses in the first 2 years, in the 2 years of the project. We're up to 20, I said 20 yesterday, I think 19. Individual courses, 60 sections. 60 sections of courses have adopted OER at TCC. And mostly that's through word of mouth and faculty going, this is working for some people, it's going to work for me, and it's going to help my students, I'll do it. And I want to talk more about the assessment, because I think the assessment is the most important thing that we're doing right now. I know this morning in the keynote we heard that assessment might be old school and not so useful anymore, but it's really important to me because it's important to my administrators and it's important to my community. So I report back to TCC, but I report back to Tacoma and to Washington State because those places fund the activities that we do. So I want to tell them that we're being responsible to them. So we check the savings. I track the courses regularly. My system is slightly different than the one what others are using. I take the total cost of the book the last time it was in the bookstore, subtract how much the materials cost right now, and come up with a savings per student, and then multiply by the number of students. That's how I get at my savings numbers. We do surveys. We survey the students for their satisfaction. We survey the faculty for how they feel about their process, because we want the process to improve if we can improve it. And then we ask the faculty to do qualitative assessments for us on whether or not the students are meeting the outcomes of the course, because that's important to us, and how they're meeting those outcomes. So we look at that too. Sometimes we do program learning outcomes as well. And then the last thing we do is we look at the students' retention and success data. We're just starting to get that data. I don't know if the rest of you have places like us, but it takes a full 3 months after the quarter ends to get the retention and assessment data back. But we're starting to get some really interesting quarterly reviews from our institutional repository institutional research folks, that is showing me that roughly 2/3 of the courses where OER has been adopted, the students have had higher success rates than students in classes without OER. The problem is that, I can't tie it entirely to OER because there's also a full redesign that happens when you adopt OER. And the faculty member is more engaged with the materials because they help to create what they're teaching with. So there's a lot that happens with OER, so I can't say that OER is saving our educational system. And I am running out of time. But I'll answer questions when we're done. Thank you.
Time does fly. Hi, I'm Lisa Storm, and I teach at Hartnell College in Salinas, California. I teach Administration of Justice, and so I'm just going to tell you a few ways that I've expanded student access. The first thing I did was write a textbook that was originally an open educational resource for my criminal law. It's a flat world knowledge textbook, so it's now an affordable educational resource, not fully open, but it's $19.95, so it still saves the students money. And then I was able to adopt another textbook for my business law class as well from Flat World Knowledge. So after I had done that, I got sort of excited about OER, and I created some web pages to hook to our main page. And anyone can do this. Every college has a main web page. These are OER and AER pages. And one of the pages lists the classes that are utilizing OER or AER, the teachers, and that really helps to drive enrollments because students look at that page and they say, well, this class is using a $19.95 resource, and the other class is using a $225 resource. I'm definitely going to enroll for this class. Teachers know that, so it gives teachers incentive to adopt those resources. So that's one of the 3 pages. The second page has a list of the repositories for OER and AER, like Connections, Merlot, and OpenStax, etc. And then the third page is advice for students on how they can save money on textbooks, buy them from Amazon, rent them, talk to your teacher about possibly adopting an AER or an OER. So administration loved this. I didn't get any pushback on it, and it's been pretty successful on all levels. So as I said, I adopted my own textbook, of course, and also the Legal Environment of Business text. You can see that was in 2012. Since that time, I've saved the students $136,000, and I'm continuing to save, and as semesters go by, that's going to continue to build. I have another textbook coming out in March, and when I adopt that, the savings will just increase. So I've always been involved in distance education. I think from its inception, I was sort of a pioneer there. And of course, I was teaching SPOCs, and SPOC is a new word for just teaching a regular PE class that has the same cap as a face-to-face class. But when MOOCs came onto the scene, that was really exciting, and I love doing new things. So I decided I wanted to teach a MOOC and just see what it was all about. I contacted Coursera, I contacted Udacity, I contacted edX. I'm sure you know what I'm going to say. I didn't get a response to any of those emails, multiple emails I've sent. To this day, I haven't received one. But someone told me I should contact Canvas because Canvas was running MOOCs and it's a newer platform, so I did. And that worked out beautifully. They allowed me to run my MOOC there. And now I know teaching a MOOC is different. It requires a major paradigm shift. Instead of viewing student success as the student starts the course, the student finishes the course, the student passes the course, you have to look at it more from the student's point of view and see, is the student happy with the course? Are they satisfied? Because you're not going to get that by passing it or jumping through all the hoops that you set up. After I contacted Canvas, they immediately got back to me and enthusiastically got back to me, so that was exciting. And sent me an MOU right away. Within a week, I had an MOU signed, so that was great. All they wanted from me was, I think they're running the MOOCs for promotional purposes, so they're a newer CMS. And they just wanted the right to my data, and also they wanted me to work with their course designers, so they had a certain amount of creative control there. I worked with the course designers. I did everything they said. I did not push back. I'm not sure if they would have forced me to comply with what the course designers told me to do, but I never found that out. But I got to set up all the rest of it. So I chose the duration. I'm very comfortable teaching a 6-week duration. I do that at Hartnell College with all my courses. And also in the back of my mind, it's like, well, this is a nightmare, 6 weeks, I can survive that. It's not 12 weeks, not 18 weeks. And anyway, I set the course up the way I wanted to, and then after I did all that, I sort of set it up like I do my normal online class. The course designers got in there and made a lot of comments, so I had to change quite a few things. A little bit resentful about that at first, but it came out beautiful, and they were right about everything they suggested. They knew where the questions were going to come in, and Again, paradigm shift. Instead of trying to create a course where I'm interacting constantly with the students, which is how I set up my regular DE courses, because that enhances success and retention and keeps the students engaged, I was trying to set up a course where I never interact with anyone because I was nervous about keeping up with all the interaction with all these students. And the way the course designers advised me was great because I didn't have that much interaction. It wasn't overwhelming and it wasn't a nightmare. Clearly I've done it twice, so it couldn't have been that horrible. I had 547 students the first time, 749 the second time. Seemed like a huge group of international students. And you can see, now if I was basing this on my completion rates, I would, commit suicide instantly. It was horrible. But you would not believe how much positive feedback I got. Gratitude, just bare naked gratitude. Thank you so much for doing this. I learned so much. It was wonderful. It felt great. That's why I did it twice. And the criminal procedure comes out, I'm going to do it a third time if they're still running groups on campus. Or maybe Coursera will answer my email now. We'll see. I'm not holding my breath. Okay, so this is the content. Very similar to how I set up my SPOCs. Reading assignments with PowerPoints to go along. I like to take my PowerPoints and convert them to Word docs so that students can print them and study them offline. And students really like that too, although they can do that themselves. It's not that challenging. I had a discussion board every week on a pertinent topic. Students love the discussion boards. I had a quiz every week. You could bomb the quiz. The scores didn't count. You could also take it over and over until you got a perfect score. Students did not like the quizzes. And I like interactive exercises where I post a link and ask a question. You have to go either to a judicial opinion, a case, or an article, and ask the question that way. I do video every week in the MOOC and also in my SPOCs. Just a video of me sitting in front of the webcam. Not a full lecture, but 10 minutes hitting the high points. And that video, you all may know this already, that's where I got the most positive feedback. Students really like to watch the instructor lecturing. And of course, I used my own textbook, the 1995 resource, got a lot of positive feedback on that too, and I was glad. To get your certificate of completion in my MOOC, which I was able to personalize because there weren't very many, students were very happy about that, so I could put their name on the certificate. You had to take all the quizzes, post all the discussions, and pass your final. You got one try with 67%. Obviously not that many people did that, but people were very content with the course. What I learned about MOOCs is, MOOCs are, people consider them fun experience, and they just want to go in, take what they need, and come back out and just walk away from it. So after learning that, I decided I wanted to create a MOOC for my college, not for credit MOOC. And I called it MOOCsicle because I didn't want it to sound like a drudgery, I gotta do this. More like a popsicle or a delicious treat. It's a student information center for legal education. And just to summarize my vision for this, which is going to be starting next semester, I want it to be like a lab for administration of justice. We have reading and writing labs, we have computer labs, we have math labs. We have no tutoring and no labs for administration of justice, and my students really need it. So it's going to be structured to remediate, and what I'm going to focus on is strengthening student success and retention numbers, especially in my online classes. I have my whole degree online, so I have every class is taught online in the administration of justice program. So I need to get those numbers up, or they're not going to let me do that anymore, because my success and retention numbers in the online classes are not a lot lower. They're coming up, but they are lower than the face-to-face numbers. So I want to strengthen those numbers so that I can still continue to teach online, because I love expanding access that way. And so when a student signs up for any AJ course, whether it's face-to-face or online, they will automatically be enrolled in MOOCsicle. And this is the purpose, of course, to remediate, but also to enhance success and retention numbers, as I said. And I'm going to structure it to, because I have all the SLOs, I've written them all myself. I'm going to structure it to strengthen achievement on the SLOs, because I think that's key to bringing up your success and retention numbers. And again, administrators like that because in our standards in California, we do require a supportive learning environment and a lot of SLO assessment data. Too much time. Anyway, MOOCsicle is going to have the same content as the two MOOCs that I taught in U.S. criminal law, with the addition of games and puzzles, because those are fun, and I want it to be fun. And I did forget to mention one thing. It's also going to be a nice way for students that have never used the computer, because this is going to be face-to-face students as well, to be introduced to technology. It's going to be very user-friendly. It's going to explain everything from how to use an attachment to how you copy and paste a link. And if we're not introducing our students in this century to technology, we're doing them a really big disservice.
Okay. All right. Put your running shoes on. I'm Donna Gaudette, Scottsdale Community College. I want to give you some background presentations, you probably know a little bit about our project. We had our OER started development to be our hybrid and online classes primarily, and then what we have now is textbook, interactive workbook, online software, concept tutorials, and online homework assistance all developed in-house and with local support. So the components of our system, we have 5 or 6 depending on who's presenting. If you went to Bill's presentation, there were 6. I have 5 and then the 6th one's at the end. So we have, these are our workbooks. You'll find them online. I'll give you our website at the end where you can get to all of these. We have the top 3 and this one, the college algebra, were all developed in-house. This is our trick book, which is an open source trick book that we use. So we're completely open source for every class from arithmetic through pre-calculus and then trigonometry. So, and we're heading to calculus next. We also give our instructors manuals that go with, because we realize that curriculum is much more than a textbook. So you can't just, especially hand an adjunct faculty a textbook the Friday before class starts and say, good luck, we'll see you in 3 months. So we realized that we needed to support their curriculum development for their class as well. So we give solution manuals, we give tips for each of the lessons, calculator tips, all kinds of things in the manual. Of course, we don't put those online for students to access. We give those out when people email us or whatever. We print those for our instructors. So it was what Bill called in his presentation a village approach. This is where we're at, like I said, completely open source from arithmetic through pre-calc. We have 42 instructors using the material. This is just in one department, just in our math department. 65 sections, and these are hard numbers that I pulled from our IR department. 6,550 students have been impacted since fall of 2012. And our math textbooks cost on average $110. So I just picked 100 as a reasonable estimate. So we've saved almost $655,000 per student in 4 semesters. One department, one campus. We have 10 colleges in our district. If you want to read more about our implementation, this is a really long URL. I should have done a bit.ly, but if you can write it down in 2 seconds, you can have it. But we did a research study with BYU. I don't know if John Hilton's in the room, but you'll see him around this week as well. And we did some surveys of our students. We asked them what they thought about the materials, and overwhelmingly, 78% of them felt they supported the work that was done in class, and they would recommend the materials to their classmates. I won't go through those right now. Our retention numbers were just about the same in terms of success, and so we figured we're not doing any harm, and then we just want to make that better. Faculty liked it. They had really good comments. Oh, this is students, sorry. They liked it too. Okay, faculty. we asked our faculty what they thought, and we had really good responses from them as well. And the feedback that they gave us, we were able to incorporate and use to make improvements in future materials. And so I apologize. I'm sure these will be around somewhere, these slides. So we do have a full team approach, and there's, it took everyone. It took all of the people to make the materials that we offer better than what we could have done individually. We have these 3 or 4 books that we've created. Our intermediate algebra now is up to 500 pages, and that was all done by faculty within the department for very, very, very little money. I think we're up to like 10 cents an hour now in our wages for creating these materials, because that's not what we're doing. So, and that's so high. That's so high, yeah, exactly. Sorry, I'm not making it rich on this. So the pluses and minuses of doing a massive department effort are, it is a huge amount of time. I won't lie about that. It's a lot of what I do on a daily basis is helping maintain these materials and get them ready every semester. The maintenance and updates. So we have a chicken house for every one of those books. We have a chicken house that we run basically 24/7. Distribution was an issue. I don't know why I have adjunct faculty buy-in as a thorn. I think we were worried about it, but it turned out not to be a problem because we involved them so much in the process. We had them writing problems, we had them editing, we had them giving feedback, testing stuff on the online system. So we had everyone involved, and you can see the roses. Supported by administration has been fantastic. Supported by department chair, of course that's me now, so that counts. And important. But we didn't start with me. We started with another gentleman who was very supportive and helped us with our efforts. So anyway, our sustainability is being enhanced by administrative support, and then we're cutting back on our development. We don't have to change every book every year, we decided. So we're doing them in revision cycles. So, and then here's my advice if you're wanting to start OER, because we get people that come up to us and say, how do you bottle what you guys have done and sell it? I say, well, if I could, I would, but I don't know how. But it just kind of, here's some advice. Start small, grow slowly, identify champions. You can't make faculty do anything. So if you're an administrator and you want to make faculty do this, give up now. Go do something else, all right? Involve everyone, and get administrative support and gather data so that you can improve, okay? Thank you. There's our website.